This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Yeah! Dude!
Well, let's get back to it.
Labour has stormed ahead of the Conservatives with their biggest poll lead in nearly 10 years as the public turns against the Conservatives amongst the biggest cost squeeze for households in 60 years. And every Labour politician and supporter is trying to think of some way to turn that round and pluck failure from the jaws of success by starting fights amongst themselves about, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Raindrops falling down a window will do, just as long as they manage to keep bathing in the delicious stew of failure.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
They love it. Figures from a YouGov poll for The Times has revealed that Labour has the backing of 43% of voters, which is 15 ahead of the Tories at 28%. Wow. 28%. What do you think, Liz?
That is a disgrace.
All of you people are going to Rwanda. Figures from the YouGov poll say that Labour has the backing of 43%, the Tories at 28%. This is Labour's biggest lead recorded by YouGov since February 2013. And it's going to take a lot for Labour to turn that into a disaster. But I'm betting money on them doing it. The Labour Party are also up 4 points from last week compared to the Tories, who fell 2 points in a week, down to 28%. This is the Conservatives' lowest figure since January, where a poll found that they dropped in popularity following the height of the Partygate scandal.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times. I followed the ministerial guidance at all times. I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
I believe that he followed the ministerial guidance at all times. The results of the poll come amid questions on the Conservatives' ability to tackle the cost of living crisis, with figures showing support for Keir Starmer and his policies. Hey, does Keir Starmer have any policies? Liz Truss. Wait, where am I? Oh, yeah, Keir Starmer and his policies. Does Keir Starmer have any policies? It's like an echo in here. Earlier this week, Keir Starmer announced that he wanted to freeze the energy price cap at the levels that they currently are, which isn't so much a policy, really, rather than just like a random thought that just flit across his brow. You know, just his brow, right beneath his fabulous hair.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
You just don't. Spoken like an expert. Thanks, Donnie, you're the best. Earlier this week, Keir Starmer announced that he wanted to freeze the energy price cap at the levels that they currently are. Instead of letting bills continue to skyrocket, he says that this would be achieved partly by funding with an extra windfall tax on energy corporations. He was a little confused when he said this. You really think that he should have got his ducks in order? Stumbled over himself just a little bit. Have you heard? Earlier this week, Keir Starmer announced that he wanted to freeze the energy price cap at the levels that they currently are. Instead of letting bills continue to skyrocket, he said he would do this partly by funding with an extra extended windfall tax on energy corporations. Even the second time he said it, he didn't really sound very confident when he was saying it. Still stumbled a little bit. And Liz Truss, a close friend of the energy companies, said at the very thought of another windfall tax on them, the Tories are going to have to go extra hard on foreigners and anyone who doesn't walk, talk and squawk exactly like them. Every minority has got it coming. Gird yourselves. I mean, they are going to start to get desperate. And when they go desperate, they go low. I mean, just look at Mr. Cashmere hoodie, puppy dog eyes, nice fishy Sunak. He went from soft focus promo shots with his dog on the sofa to flog 'em and hang 'em in about 10 seconds when he realised he was being out-eviled by the Liz bot.
Affirmative.
Voters were asked who had the best plan for dealing with rising energy bills. And while the highest score was none of the above, none of the above at 35%, none of the above wins again. If only none of the above was standing for the next dear leader, they would win it in a landslide. None of the above at 35%, said the public, when asked who had the best plan for dealing with rising energy bills. Keir Starmer won 25% of the vote, Fishy Sunak got 11%, and Liz Truss got 8%. 8% of the vote, Liz Truss. There was 21% who said they did not know. And the only people who were answering truthfully was the 21% who said they did not know. Keir Starmer's predecessor, Jeremy Corbyn, gained 32% of the vote in the 2019 general election, and Bodger Johnson won 43.6%. How did you do that, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
But now, 1 in 10 of those who went in favour of Bodge and his Tories back in 2019 now say they would vote for Labour in a general election today. 1 in 10. Which means 90% of those who voted Tory last time are super happy with how things worked out.
Fabulous.
I mean, what is it that they think has gone so well? 90% who voted Conservative last time around would do the same again. Why? Because your knees still work? You haven't lost the TV remote while the Conservative Party has been in power? The sun hasn't exploded in the sky and blasted the earth to a zillion fragments? What is it that you're happy about? The government's record on law and order? Its fiscal responsibility? Its caring side? Research Director at YouGov, Adam, said these latest results should be very worrying for the Conservative Party and indicate that the next Prime Minister will have work to do in restoring public trust on handling the cost of living crisis. No, they won't. No, they won't have a lot of work to do in restoring public trust on handling the cost of living crisis. They'll just have to spot a lot more dinghies. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Text and emails from yesterday. David says, did you hear how the Labour Party membership is reduced by nearly 100,000 in 1 year and they made a £5 million loss in 2021? They still long for Jezza Corbyn to still be in charge, but they obviously have no interest in obtaining power and winning an election. By the next election, the Tories will have regrouped and they will get their normal 40% share of the vote again, and the left will be divided again and lose. I would put money on that. Not that I'm a betting person, but if I was, I'd put money on it. But I'm not. But if I was, I would. But I'm not, so I won't. But if I was. Keith texts, is there anywhere in the UK that Liz Truss has not claimed that she's come from? What's next? Will she claim to be the Piltdown woman to get more votes? Yeah, from the Cro-Magnon Golf Club. Yeah. Paul says, I think Boris Johnson is doing a grand tour of the countries that his dad bought a villa in with all that I'm a celebrity, get me out of here money. What was he like on that? No, don't tell me. I don't care. I just don't care. And Tony texts, Riches Sunak has the same tailor as Norman Wisdom. The same tailor as Norman Wisdom. That's a true fact. What is it with those narrow tie? I mean, everything about his clothes is so narrow. What? I mean, he does look like a stick insect inside there, doesn't he? I mean, he doesn't appear to have any muscles at all. I don't know how he motivates himself around the place. Jacob Rees-Mogg looks like the Mr. Universe compared to him. He doesn't look as though he's actually lifted anything in his entire life. He's got people to do that for him. But what's with the skinny ties? It's not the 1950s. Get with the project, mate. And Lucy says, perhaps we should ask Gavin Williamson to give his verdict on how hard the British people work.
I just reckon we've got the very best people in this country, much better than the French have, much better than the Belgians have, much better than the Americans have. That doesn't surprise me at all because we're a much better country than every single
one of them. Much better than every single one of them. Isn't he frightening? Watch out, Vladimir Putin. He'll tell you to shut up and go away. What a country, eh? Bloomsbury, Sophia. Oh, God, right
Good evening, Nick.
Right out the gate.
It is tough. It is very tough.
Very, very hard, yes.
I think that it's cruel and irresponsible for these rail strikes
punishment.
to continue.
Right. And what would be your solution to discontinuing the rail strikes?
Well, yes, to bring back the...
death penalty?
The non-privatised rails. When I was councillor... And my
you were a councillor?
Yes, and the
in what manner did you counsel?
from Bloomsbury, and my agent, Chris Bryant, is now
You
deputy.
had an agent?
Yes.
How much did they take?
Is now the deputy whip. We have very good relations with the non-privatised British Rail.
The non-privatised British Rail?
The normally British Rail. Once they were privatised, these people seem to be thinking of pie in the sky. But what do they want? I mean, I've had salaries not pay for 3 major university computer centres.
Can we
and a multinational.
Right. Very interesting. Can we go back to the pie? What kind of pie is it that you have in mind?
Well, not fish pie.
I was thinking more of a dessert with cream. I don't want fish in it. Fish with cream. Oh, that's just awful. Who would want that?
Apple pie.
Now we're talking apple pie.
Indeed.
All right, well, leave it with security and I'll eat it later. I'll eat it in the break.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not real, is it? There's nothing real they're going to gain from it.
Well, I certainly hope that this isn't real life and that I must be under some sort of hallucinogen. Or something of that order. Because if this is real life, I won't be angry. I'll just be disappointed. Thanks a lot, Sophia. You got us off to an excellent start with whatever that was. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Are they having a rail strike this week? Because I am fully in support of the workers, of supporter workers. But I would like to go to the coast this week. Are they having a strike this week as well? Can they postpone it if it's this week till the following week? Because that would suit me fine. Appreciate it, Mr. Lynch. Love your work. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And at whatever the other one is. I can't remember right now. If I stumble, I forget the order. If I forget the order, then I have to go right back to the beginning to figure out what order everything comes in.
And it was 30 or 35 questions. The first questions are very easy. The last questions are much more difficult. Like a memory question, it's like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. So they say, could you repeat that? So I said, yeah. So it's woman, camera, TV. Okay, that's very good. If you get it in order, you get extra points. Okay, now he's asking you other questions. And then 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes later, they say, remember the first question? Not the first, but the 10th question? Give us that again. Can you do that again? And you go, woman, man, person, man, camera, TV. If you get it in order, you get extra points.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again.
It's a radio show, dear. Mark texts, in Rishi's latest campaign video, he claims to have travelled 100,000 miles in 30 days. That's the equivalent of travelling from Land's End to John O'Groats 4 times a day. Could Rishi be telling us an untruth in this video? Liar! Is that comical video that he just put out that makes him look like Macho Man? Like some sort of, he's a cop on the edge. Don't mess with Rishi. You're not a macho man, Rishi. You're a weedy, whiny little squit.
Stop whining.
Embrace it. There's a place in the world for a weedy, whiny little squit, just as long as they don't pretend to be Macho Man. And for balance, Chris texts, Truss reminds me of Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake. Does she mean safety net benefits are handouts that she won't give people? She ain't going to give nothing to no one, Chrissy. Unless you're of the donor class, in which case the door is open. Gold is green. Hello, Joshua.
Hello, Nick. How are you doing, mate?
I am great, mate.
I must say, I love you, man. You're fantastic. Your podcast with Carol, they're hilarious, and your show is fantastic.
Carol, thanks you very much indeed.
James
No problem.
Me too.
So I just want to say, I heard actually an old clip of you on another station.
Yeah.
When you were slating off the station you're currently on, but I won't expand because I'll get you in trouble. My question is this.
Well, the station that I'm currently on was not like this when I was having a go at it.
Well, tell that to the cops, Nick.
Is it going to come to that?
Well, you said
I'm going to be arrested by the law.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
My question is this.
My affairs are in order. Go ahead.
I've got an English assignment to do over the holiday, and I simply can't be bothered. So I can either just sit down and do it, or I fancy, in the modern world, everyone does this, start a students' union and go on strike.
Yes, quite right too. What's the English, what's the task that you have been given?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's a novel of at least 800 pages with the theme of either feminism or Marxism, and I simply can't be bothered.
Well, you got to write one?
Yeah.
Write one? You have to write an 800-page novel?
No, you have to write an essay of 3,000 words on it.
Oh, right. On a book?
Boring. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
I've got a joke for you, Nick.
Well,
you
sadly, we don't do jokes. You can do the setup, but not the punchline. What's the setup?
Okay. Right. I think right. What's the difference between a buffalo and a bison?
Oh, God. Susan texts, how insulting of Liz Truss. I work full-time at school and also have 3 hours a day, 7 days a week cleaning job just to keep me and my family. I don't get benefits, says Susan. Susan, it is a benefit. Life is a benefit. I'm just going through the emails and the text from yesterday. There's only 11 pages of them to go.
Oh, no.
Oh. Carlos says, it's rumoured that Liz Truss is going to make Jacob Rees-Mogg the levelling up minister. Do you approve? Well, let me think about that.
No.
No, I do not. But I have detailed files on Jacob Rees-Mogg because Smug wrote a column for the Daily Telegraph where he fits in perfectly. And, God, he was completely incorrect in every way, shape and form. I can't even get my head around how one person can be so wrong so frequently in an article that was less than 1,000 words. I tell you what, that last bloke should just should copy and paste Jacob Smug's article from the Telegraph. And even though it's only 1,000 words long, he will still get an A because the person who's reading it would just fall asleep after about the second sentence. They'll never get to the end of it. They'll never know. They'll never find out. Believe me. Trust me. Jan emails, just shows what we thought of in the world. Just shows what we are thought of in the world. Some of the Ukrainians being hosted in the UK have gone on holiday to Ukraine. Is that true? Some of the Ukrainians being hosted in the UK have gone on holiday to Ukraine. We must be thought of as idiots in the world. 2 of the hosts phoned Tom on LBC. Is that right? Well, they probably didn't go on holiday. They went back to see if, their house was still there. Give them a break. They're at war. Susan says, how insulting of Liz Truss. I've read that. God, she is persistent, is Susan. Over and over. I've read it already, Susan. What is that noise? What is that noise? Can you hear that noise? Well, it's not like I'm about to mention it on the air. You know me. I'll just work through it. I am a professional.
Correct.
Carlos texts, it's rumoured that Liz Truss is going to make Jacob Rees-Mogg the levelling up minister. Do you approve? I've read that one as well. I haven't got time to reread them. Been a brief 3-hour show. Because as I'm reading them from last night, the ones from tonight are already piling up. Darren says, what I find crazy is that Tory MPs and its members want to put Liz Truss as the PM. After all, she is a Remainer. I think it's pronounced Ramona, Darren. Remona. She doesn't, it doesn't seem to me that she believes anything at all. She believes whatever, like Bodge himself.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
If you just say anything at all to get a positive response from whoever she's sitting in front of. She doesn't appear to believe in anything. Matthew Paris was talking about this in the Times. His column gets a lot of traction on social media. Not that that's an indicator of anything at all, but every Saturday he starts trending. He looks like the least trendy person you've ever seen in your life. I mean, he ain't no Harry Styles, whoever that is. Matthew Paris on Liz Truss. In Times columns, I've offered my first impressions of this candidate. They were that she was intellectually shallow, her convictions wafer thin, that she was driven by ambition, pure and simple, that her manner was wooden, and her ability to communicate convincingly to an electorate wider than the narrow band of Tory activists was virtually non-existent, that she was dangerously impulsive and headstrong, with a self-belief unattended by precaution, and that the leadership of the Conservative Party in our country would be a tragedy for both. Wow! Wow! Don't sit on the fence, Matthew. Tell us what you think. There's nothing there, I wrote last December, says Matthew Paris. Nothing beyond a leaping self-confidence that's almost endearing in its wide-eyed disregard for the forces of political gravity. I likened any decision to allow to follow Johnson with Truss to the doner kebab, which, after a night in the tiles, momentarily seems like a good idea until you open the bread pouch.
Disgusting.
It says, if these, my first impressions, were expressed extravagantly, they nevertheless reflected a judgment expressed more soberly by most political commentators. And on and on and on. It's that Liz Truss is a planet-sized mass of overconfidence and ambition teetering upon a pinhead of a political brain. It must all come crashing down. This is good stuff. And completely correct in every respect.
Correct.
I'll wager that at the outset most thought Liz Truss a bit weird, curiously hollow and potentially dangerous. This summer a short period will see such rushes to judgment revised. Then the government will descend into a huge effort to contain and defang an unstable Prime Minister, and we shall revert to our first impressions. Save yourself the detour and stick with them. She's crackers. It isn't going to work. What do you think about that, Liz?
That is a disgrace.
She's crackers. It's hard to believe that it's actually going to get worse after this bloke.
Peppa Pig World. Peppa Pig World it has
yes,
Peppa Pig
is the right answer. It's actually going to get worse after that guy. You thought that it couldn't possibly get any worse than him, and you are about to be proved wrong. I am stunned. I am stunned. Doreen emails, if we are the worst idlers and the best biscuit eaters in the world, how come we are the 5th or 6th economy in the world? What are you asking me for? I think it's the residual fallout from our excellence in slave trading. Something like that. But definitely the biscuits thing. You're onto a winner there, Doreen. Chris says, how many days does Parliament actually sit? Productivity, she is having a tin bath. Productivity, she is having a tin bath. That sounds like something an old person would say, Chris. But how many days does Parliament actually sit? Well, let's ask an expert.
And one, two.
It's one or two. Not entirely sure at the moment, but I'll look into it. Sam says, I work 2 jobs over 6 to 7 days a week and still struggle to make ends meet. Luckily, I'm going to take the Truss advice and work harder and get a 3rd job over 7 to 8 days a week. 8 days a week.
Rock and roll!
Let's have... it'd be unfair for me to go to a call right now because I've only got a minute before the news. And you know me, I'm a stickler for fairness. What is that noise? Richard texts, but you know me, I'm not going to mention it on the air because that would be unprofessional. Richard texts, Rishi Sunak seems desperate by promising anything he can think of except giving everyone crackerjack pencils. Well, I tell you what, he looks like a crackerjack pencil. Smug looks like a crackerjack pencil.
I don't know anything.
He looks like the ghost of a crackerjack pencil. Everybody under the age of 40 is going, crackerjack? What? You want to get educated. I don't know what they teach them in school these days, but it's embarrassing. If you were saying crackerjack what to the radio, then you should be embarrassed for yourself. You are making a fool of yourself on national radio. Michelle says, I'm not even British and I feel so insulted by Truss. Her words could cause a revolution in France. I don't really know what that means. Anyway, there's lots to get through and a very brief 3-hour show in which to do it. So I'm going to go away in order to come back, because if I don't do one, then I certainly can't do the other. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott. It's 10:30 on LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
And I can't stand him.
Abby texts, do you not think that the people of this country are either lacking in self-respect or they agree with Liz Truss that they are the laziest in the world, lacking in work ethics and non-aspirational? Otherwise, why else would they keep voting their party into office in spite of the austerity measures they put in place since coming into office? Says Abby. Meanwhile, Desiree tweets, if the top 1% of the population were an animal, they'd be dung beetles. I don't really get that, but despite not getting it, I like it. I don't get it, but I like it. I know what I don't understand, but I like it anyway. Weymouth, hello, Patricia.
Oh, hello, good evening. Oh, you are so funny. Honestly, you just made me have a chuckle because you're talking about having a bath in a tin bath.
Oh, yeah.
And I can remember that as a child. Every Saturday night, the copper used to go on, and we used to have, as a child, I had to have a bath in a copper bath, and then after you'd had your bath, the cenopods used to be coming out.
The what?
Cenopods. Have you never heard of cenopods?
What are they?
Well, it's to make you do what comes naturally, and you had to have them once a week.
Well, hang on. Whoa, Nelly, wait. Stop speaking.
Why?
If it happened naturally, then why did you have to have help?
Because your parents said you had to have it, and they insisted on it in those days, and you didn't want it. It was a horrible brown tea and all these leaves floating about in it. It was the most vile thing that you had to take, and I used to dread Saturday night baths because you'd have to dip in the tin bath, and then you had to have these cenopods.
The cenopods, yeah.
Yeah, well, you can get Senecot and things like that now to make you sort of go, oh, sorry,
right,
I don't want
they're not
on the air.
Right, they're not the same as cephalopods. This is completely different.
As what? Sorry?
Yeah, never mind.
No, I don't know, but it's to make you sort of go,
yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, no, it was a horrible taste and it was vile, but you used to think, oh, I'm going to dread Saturday night bath night because the copper's going to go on and I know what I'm going to have to drink afterwards.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I know, but okay,
yeah,
well,
it's kept... But your parents were so strict in those days and you had to do what they had to do.
Exactly right. Pay attention to your parents, except if they want you to eat cephalopods, in which case just say no.
No.
In fact, just say no, thank you. I mean, good manners don't cost nothing, do they?
Well, you couldn't do that in those days. If they said you had to do it, you had to do it, and you had to obey your parents.
And you had a bath once a year, whether you needed it or not.
No, it was every Saturday night. No, it was once a week in this little tin galvanised bath, and. It was so funny.
You certainly are painting a wonderful picture of family life there, Patricia.
Well, yeah, when I was, listen, I'm 82 years old.
82 years old.
I'm 82, and when we were growing up, life was so different. But now, as pensioners, we are really suffering. I've worked all my life.
Well, you know what you need, sir, Patricia.
What's that?
A couple of pints of hot cephalopods.
No, I don't. I hate the bloody things. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
No, you shouldn't. But you're 82 years old, so you know
I'm 82.
Forget where you are every now and again.
Don't talk to me about
and
Liz
another
Truss
thing.
Or any of these. I get
promise
so
not to do
wound up.
that.
She thinks she's on the catwalk and she's a model.
She thinks she's all that.
I am taxed up to the eyebrows. Mm-hmm. Could she live off £12,000 a year and pay her council tax, pay all this high electric bill and buy her food? That's all I get. I've got an occupational pension. I'm taxed to the eyeballs. I'm on the lowest tax code. Yeah. My tax code was 73L. They put me down to 29L.
Well, I have no idea what that means. Your tax code is so low you can't see it from there. Well, I don't know how you're going to manage either, but
I can't. But people say pensioners are scroungers.
At least
I'm not a scrounger. I can't claim anything.
Right. Okay, well, that's the end of the lesson. And I appreciate it, Patricia. And
it makes me angry because...
Well, I understand that it makes you angry, and I'm hearing that it makes you angry.
I'm a widow. I'm an 82-year-old
82
widow.
years old?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you had your bath tonight?
No, I haven't.
No,
'cause
not
I can't
yet.
afford
No,
to
okay.
put the lecky on.
Right.
No.
That's a good point, yeah.
No, I can't. I haven't got a tin bath.
You haven't got a tin bath. You haven't got a tin bath, then how can you have a bath? And if you haven't got a bath, then how can you have your hot cephalopods? Quite right, too. Thanks very much for that, Patricia. Appreciate it. Hey, Gartex, I wonder if Swishy Fishy... Swishy Fishy... no, I'm annoyed I didn't come up with that myself. Swishy Fishy. I wonder if Swishy Fishy and Mistrust have taken inspiration from the comedy duo of Nick and Carol. What's your problem with Rishi and Lizzie? I can't see it taking off. How about you, Carol?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, she's thinking about it. By the way, I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind that Carol McGiffin is wrong about almost everything. Almost everything that is Carol McGiffin wrong about. But when we get together, it is a laugh riot. And we do a podcast one a week called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, in which the delightful and often wrong Carol McGiffin and I try to solve people's problems while laughing our faces off. If you want us to have a bash at your issue, then you must send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com. NICKAND... What? NICKANDCAROL@global.com and prepare for a certain amount of satisfaction.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? Exeter. Hello, John.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. I've been listening as usual, and earlier on, you almost got them all in the right order.
Yes,
for which
it sounds like you're listening to me from the bottom of a well.
Oh, sorry. Bear with me.
There
Can
you
you
are.
hear me better now?
That's much better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I've got
like
a few things.
You've come into the light. Go ahead.
That's good because anyway, that lady earlier, the lady that was 82.
Mm-hmm.
She was talking about xenopods. I've got no idea what she was talking about. No. Sitting in a tin bath. Is that the same as a xenomorph? Like an alien?
It is, yes.
Exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. Sitting in a tin bath.
Sitting in my tin can.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, when she mentioned that, it reminded me of my own childhood because I used to stay at my grandmother's house at weekends. She had a tin bath.
Really? Please, tell me less.
Yeah, I used to go there at weekends because it was easier to go there to have a bath rather than avoid the destitution in my own house in Liverpool. My parents, we were so poor.
How poor were they?
They were we were very poor, and if we were constipated, my parents couldn't afford.
Okay, can we get off the constipation? This is not your constipation station.
we couldn't afford laxatives, so my parents used to sit us on the toilet and tell us ghost stories.
Right. Okay. It sounds like a listener with material to me. Very, very alarming.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay. Say goodbye.
I've got better stuff.
Well, sadly, we're right out of time. I hate when that happens. He's got better stuff. Well, you should have led with your better stuff, John. You only get one chance. It's a tough business, I know. I've got better stuff. Thank you. Next. There's no business like show business. Phil emails just so much to blame Jeremy Corbyn for. First Boris, now his demonic zombie acolyte Liz Truss. When will this man be punished? The demonic zombie acolyte Liz Truss. Acolyte and apposite. Jill says Andy Burnham should be leader of the Labour Party. Talks so much sense, says Jill. Well, maybe he will, eventually. Eventually. I can't remember off the top of my head who is the current leader of the Labour Party. He hasn't made much of a splash. Pat tweets, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the Tory party did their best to scare the electorate that we might vote for a coalition of chaos. Yeah, remember that? They went off the part where they were offering, they left off the part where they were offering a catastrophe of carnage. Still, never mind. Something powerful hoovers. Yeah, something powerful hoovers. Something about powerful hoovers. The EU have restricted our ability to suck. Actually, they haven't. We suck just fine without them. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hiya, Nick. All the best for Monday. Hope you have a good one and the rain leaves you alone.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, first an answer before the main point. You've got to think Australian for this answer. Dame Edna stuff. You can't wash your face in a buffalo.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, wasn't very good, was it?
No, it wasn't. Everybody knows that joke. Everybody knows that joke.
Yeah, getting on to fishy and mistrust.
Yeah.
Swishy,
swishy, fishy. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, everyone thinks that's a horror show. But if you think if Truss wins, what's the cabinet? Because Gove's wiped himself out, Sunak's wiped himself out, and they were the two brightest in the last cabinet. Super Saj probably won't get in because he stabbed Boris in the back. So the three brightest in the last cabinet are missing. So what you got left? You've got Smug, Redwood, Dorries, Cleverly. Nothing's going to work, Nick.
It doesn't have to. They just have to keep yelling about woke stuff, which the press are going to assist them with, as the Mail did on the front page, yelling about woke. You know, the NHS lost £1 million. Oh, really? Let's talk about the £6 billion that this Tory government wasted on PPE that we didn't actually need. They bought it from their close personal friends and mates and donors. But sure, let's talk about the tiny, tiny amount that the NHS spent on. And you know what? I didn't even read the story because who cares? Woke stuff. Every time anybody says woke, then you can immediately close your ears, just smile, but don't make any sudden moves. Back slowly out of the room and leave them to their gibberish.
They can't keep shouting about that for 2 years, and shouting about that won't get them through when people are freezing and starving.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what usually works is pointing to some minority and saying it's their fault, and it would be the European Union for being mean to us, or whoever it is that comes over and replaces the Eastern Europeans that used to pick up fruit and vegetables, and it will be their fault because, you know, they're coming over here, using our electricity. Something like that.
What I fear is that the Labour Party will cut themselves to shreds at the upcoming conference. Momentum gets themselves going. Circular firing squad job, and they call it a rapid election after the Labour Party have annihilated themselves, and that is my biggest worry.
Well, don't worry, Mike. It's it's only life. And maybe it will be better the next time we go around, after we all die and we get another go at it. I'm sure that's the way it's going to work out. All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Sue emails, I used to think that Donald Trump came out with the biggest load of unparalleled gibberish that had ever passed the lips of a politician. Bing bong. What makes you say that? But do you know, the more that I see and hear from Liz Truss, says Sue, the more I think that she could give Donny a run for his money.
Oh, shut up!
The question is, does Truss Trump, or does Trump Truss in this regard? I mean, after describing anyone outside of London as basically lazy, does she really think that anyone north of Watford is going to vote for Liz Truss in the next general election? Yeah. Over to you, Donny.
I love the poorly educated.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Anybody care what this guy thinks?
No!
David texts, if that woman gets into power, the long-billed Platty Truss will make everyone's bills long. Ugh. Lynn says, according to Dilbert, in the future, poverty will be eliminated along with the people who are hoarding all the money. Who's Dilbert? And Carol says, wouldn't be a party member, but Liz has my vote if she's for grammar schools. Brits don't know how many places worldwide still use their classical education that does so well. Huh? Education in newer generations has been politicised too much, unfortunately. What are you on about, Carol? Politicised? Well, you might have a point there. Far too much wokery. I mean, history for a start. Teaching history is rewriting history. I think that's a fact. What they want to do is go back to basics. Just drum the multiplication table into kids' minds and thrash them if they forget it. Didn't do me any harm. 6 8s are 84, 7 9s are 61. Once remembered, never forgotten. Let's have a call in Cheam. Sue.
Good evening. It was just a brief thought, actually, that considering Liz Truss, or Truss, whatever her name is, used £500,000 in order to get to Australia on a private plane, I'm wondering how much her wallpaper's going to cost once she gets into number 10, because she certainly is a lady who likes to feel that she's entitled. So I'm just wondering if that's something that's going to be in the press next. She's probably going to, if he had gold wallpaper, she'd probably go for platinum.
Yes. No, she'll cover the walls with diamonds.
Yeah, diamonds. But I mean, a more hideous creature you couldn't wish to find. But well, yeah, I'm beginning to wonder if this is all intentional. All this, saying one thing and another thing and another thing, because it seems to be the way the Tory party seem to work. It's the old BS baffles brains trick that people do.
Right. Well, it's certainly baffling my brain. I just can't believe that this is actually real. Is this real life or am I hallucinating? All right. Thanks a lot, Sue. Well, it was something about the most hideous creature that anybody has ever seen. Something like that. Paul says, Truss will become the Corbyn of the Conservative Party. Her attitude towards trade unions, i.e. she cannot say trade union without saying the word militant first, will drive the workers to a general strike within months of her taking office, demanding a general election. It doesn't seem like it's a recipe for success, does it? that Liz Truss is going to be the next dear leader. Can you believe that?
No.
I mean, it really is hard to believe. But then, who was hard to believe? I mean, that guy is actually our current Prime Minister. So, we've already gone down the silly road. I mean, I know it's silly season, but really. Ursula texts, 11 plus is an intelligence test, pure and simple. We didn't have to have extra touring for it in my day. I'm 69. 69 years old. Touring? It's an intelligence test. Well, it's like an IQ test. But what IQ tests test is your ability to do an IQ test. But in the absence of anything better, that's what they were stuck with. Marion says, self-driving cars. This is the same story as a year ago. It's not happening. The arguments about robots, sci-fi scenarios are all good and groovy, but the real proposal is much more boring than that. And the main thing is they will not be insured, so just settle the pants for a couple of decades. What does that mean? You want me to settle my pants? I will not. Who are you to tell me to settle my pants? I don't even know what it means. Ealing. Hello, John.
Hey. Oh, God, I'll tell you something. I've had a really horrible day, so forgive my
oh, really?
Temper.
Stop whining.
No, do you know what it is? I lost the conflagration in the kitchen while trying to cook, and my cooker has decided to die.
You lost the what?
A conflagration between me and the cooker.
There is no such thing as a conflagration. What's a conflagration?
A conflagration is war.
War?
Look it up.
Yeah. You mean conflagration?
Yes. Well, what? Oh, God! Listen, I stand corrected.
Yeah, you do. Are you standing?
Yeah. Yes, I am standing, and I'm bowing at your excellence. But no, my cooker has decided to not only destroy a lasagna I cooked, but
oh, I see. It's the cooker's fault.
No, but I tell you something. No, the fan won't turn off. It's still going on now. I'm scared to go to sleep in case it blows the bloody house up.
The fan always stays on after the oven is turned off because it's cooling itself.
No, it's been on for 3 hours. It won't stop. And I looked on the internet, and they said there's a chip has gone, or something, like some kind of a computer thing has occurred. So I can't relax anyway. But that's not why I called.
You can't relax. Well, does that help? How about this? Are you relaxed now? How about this?
Yeah, of course I am.
Much more relaxed now.
Oh, God, that's lovely. Now, but the point I'm ringing is this, Nick, is that I'm sick of being gaslighted by
you're
the
sick,
Conservative...
You're sick to death of being sick to death.
No, they're gaslighting us. I mean, or they're consplaining. Liz Truss will say something along the lines of, the reason you're in the mess you're in right now is because you just don't work hard enough.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, what day's work has she ever done, or Boris Johnson? I don't understand where they come off with.
It's worse than that. She will say that the reason that you are a miserable shower is that you don't work hard enough. And then somebody will say, did you just say that we don't work hard enough? And she will say, I didn't say that. My words have been taken out of context, she'll say.
Nick, she's arguing with herself.
That's the gaslighting part, making you think that you're losing your mind.
I know. They do it well, but it's good. I mean, how can a politician argue with themselves? But they've managed to do it. I didn't say that. You play them. You play the recording of them saying it. Well, I don't. Cleverly says it all the time.
Yeah, exactly right. I don't recognise that quote.
That's it. Bravo. I don't recognise it.
Yeah, and you'll play them actually doing it and say, well, that's been taken out of context. What the people want to hear is, and then they'll go into their pre-learned spiel about whatever it is that they came out to say that day, regardless of the questions that are actually being posed to them.
I mean, Nick, Zaphod was asked a question about Boris Johnson being on eternal holiday.
So obviously,
Yeah, he was asked a question about that. So, he's been on holiday at least twice over summer. He's now in Greece. He decided he wanted to stay on, but he's staying on till September. But he's getting £13,000 a year.
A month,
and he's not working. And is the government asleep at the wheel? And again, it was classic Zaphod. I don't recognise that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. That's not the. That doesn't excuse. You may not recognise it, but it's the truth.
Yeah, I don't believe that they don't recognise it. They recognise it just fine. It's just that they don't want to talk about that because it's embarrassing, because they can't get their brains around trying to figure out a way to extricate themselves from the corner that they've just been marched into by their interlocutor.
But Nick, that's it. It's the equivalent of sticking your fingers in your ears and going la 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 la.
Yeah.
It's like listen, just reap what you sow. If you're going to be lazy, and I don't expect it. It makes me laugh that they slag off us and they say, oh well, people in India work a lot harder, China work a lot harder.
People in China work a lot. That's because if they don't, they die.
And that's the point. Is that supposed to be like we're a democracy? And we do work bloody hard in this country. But
up to this point, we're a kind of a democracy, but I wouldn't put any money on us staying that way. I know that sounds like an alarming thing to say, but I think that's where we're going. I think democracy is hanging on by a thread at this moment. All right, thanks a lot, John. Cheer up, mate. It might never happen. Oh, no, that's right. It already has. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
This is absolute tosh.
A big sack of monkey nuts.
That's what we're dealing with, a big sack of monkey nuts. Edward emails, because of Brexit, the UK economy is 4% smaller than it would otherwise be. That's £31 billion smaller. The next time you encounter a Brexiter, assuming that they are employed, ask them would they celebrate getting a pay rise of minus 4%, for that is what they're gloating about, says Edward. Chris says, maybe Rishi Sunak, I think you mean Swishy Rishi, has not taken his daughter to McDonald's since before the lockdown. She might not have heard the shock menu change news. These are texts and emails, still from last night. Blimey. Valerie says, please tell the man with the conflagrating, this is from tonight, the conflagrating oven to turn it off at the mains if he doesn't want the house to go up in flames while he's asleep, says Valerie. Excellent advice there, Valerie, unless it isn't, in which case I retract that. Well, the fan is on for a reason. It's got to be. And it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. Try jiggling it a bit. Wiggle it just a little bit.
Rock and roll!
Red Hill. Hello, Nigel.
Oh, good evening, Nick. I've got a theory of all this. It's like what Boris has done or initiated is like a 21st century form of fascism brain drain. I mean,
fascism. Wait a minute. Fascism brain drain.
21st century fascism brain drain. Yeah, right. And they're trying to mess our heads up. I mean, he's upset Mr. Putin and all kinds of things. You know what I mean?
No.
No, but that's what I think. It's gone so far right. It's a form of. I mean, Mr. Putin went into Ukraine because of fascism. Now Boris is in there. I mean, who's to say he's not a fascist? Boris. It makes you wonder.
Well, yeah. And it's a 21st century fascist brain drain. Wasn't that a track by King Crimson?
I don't know. That's what I made up. Oh, no, 21st century.
Yes.
Oh,
quickly.
Man.
It's the right answer. Excellent work, that man. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Nigel. 0345 6060 973. A 21st century fascist brain drain, Bodge.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Tommy texts, Sajid Javid growing a beard to look like a new member of the Liz Truss candidate. Should have gone with a moustache and glasses instead. What does that mean? Oh, you're talking about you-know-who. Right. Oh, I've got detailed files on him. I'll get to him in just a minute. John says, please wake me up when the Conservatives finally end the husts. How on earth can a decision to elect a party leader take twice as long as it takes for a general election? I don't know. They're stringing out the pain. They love a bit of it. Keith emails, I used to sing Save Those Kippers for Tea. Ugh. Oh, no, that's going to be going around my brain like one of those worms. You know the worms that go around in your brain? Callum email, chewing gum, I understand, is really good for that. I've had a Doobie Brothers track.
Rock and roll!
Going around in my brain, around and around and around and around and around, and I wake up with it, and in like quiet moments, I hear it playing in my mind. The Doobie Brothers.
Groovy.
And it's keeps me running. So I've restarted it now. Oh. But I believe that the excellent way to stop one of those earworms, that's what it's called, an earworm, is to chew gum. Or use your mouth for some other purpose, like talking, for instance. Or sing something else. Sing something simple, like ABC. This show is full of excellent advice, yes?
No.
Callum emails, Bojo on holiday in Greece, fishy camping in any Tory's garden that will put him up whilst travelling for the hustings. Liz in that same blue dress for the 10th time, and us lot wondering how long it's going to take for the public to take action. We are the public, Callum. How long is it going to take the public? You are part of the public. Don't wait for us. I'm right behind you. Sandor tweets, like a long way behind, mind, not right behind you. I'm a long way behind, just to make sure that nothing happens to you, and then I will confidently walk in your footsteps. How's that sound? Sandor tweets, just to be clear, Cineworld's shares already fell 60% on Wednesday, and then another 58% on Friday as well. Wow, that means they're worth about threepence halfpenny. I'll give you £4 for the lot. How's that sound? You could probably buy that company for cheaper than it is to go see Top Gun. Mark text, films. Just one film for grown-ups since March 2020. The endlessly delayed Bond film, which I paid to watch at home at Christmas rather than Cineworld, so it's all my fault, says Mark. Yeah, and how was that film, by the way, that Bond film?
Dreadful.
It really was terrible, wasn't it? I mean, I saw it twice just to make sure. And I hated it the second time just as much as I hated it the first time. It was terrible. I mean, just really bad. He was only in 2 good Bond films. The first one and Skyfall. All of the rest were okay at best, and there was a couple of really bad ones in there. I think people are forgetting about the bad ones. I'm just looking forward to the new Mission Impossible because there doesn't seem to be anything else like it on the horizon. Action adventure, that's what I like. I don't like horror films, and I don't like, lovey stuff.
Boring.
Or anything like that. I want car chases and explosions. I want to see £100 million worth of stuff blow up on screen. Is that too much to ask? John says, I have a good idea that could help people get out of this economic mess. Why not get the government to set up free towns, a bit like free ports, except people can live in them at lower cost than normal towns?
Warning, warning.
Uh-oh. Don't like where this is going. He said they could have houses that have reasonable prices or affordable rents, and they could afford food and affordable energy. If they were popular, then perhaps we could set up more of them and call them Cloud Cuckoo Land. Right. Saved yourself just at the end there, John. Yeah. If a politician near you comes to you with a bag of sweets and promise of free ports, just run. Run away. Because it's not for you, it's for them. Free ports, that's where we're going. This deregulated nirvana for the 0.1%. Where what's happening in this country is the exact opposite of what they're promising. In any given instance, when you hear one of them say something or promise what they're going to do, just think, what's the opposite of what that person just said? And that's what they're actually saying. It's not even gaslighting anymore. They're just telling you the inverse of what it is that they're actually planning. And the free ports thing is a perfect example. Oh, everything's going to be great. We're going to have more jobs and more opportunities, and there's going to be more money coming into the country, and we'll have more enterprise, and there'll be more inward investment, and all of that stuff is completely untrue. It's the opposite of what is actually the case. Free ports. Do me a favour. Alan says, as we live in a capitalist democracy, we should have consumers who have enough disposable income to enable society to function properly, and sadly that no longer applies. Yeah, maybe an economist can clue me in on this, because I really don't understand what the Bank of England is doing. I mean, OK, they've only got one thing. They've only got one tool in their tool belt, and that is raising the rate of interest, raising it or lowering it. That's all they can do, right? I mean, they can print money and just chuck it about a bit, but essentially that's what they've got, raising and lowering interest rates in order to stymie inflation. But inflation, if you raise your interest rates, then that is preventing people from spending money. In your normal circumstances, inflation is caused by too many people who've got too much money and they're competing with each other about stuff to buy. And greedy vendors will therefore put up their price. If everybody wants a Bentley, for instance, get Steve Allen on the phone. He can tell us all about it. If everybody wants a Bentley, then the price of a Bentley we're going to go through the roof because there's a limited number of them and everybody will want one. That's inflation. But that's not what's happening now. People don't have too much money. It's the opposite of that. They've got too little money. So how is making money more expensive going to help inflation? It's not, because inflation isn't being caused by too many people competing with each other about how much electricity they're going to buy or gas they can use, or butter and milk they can buy. That's not what's causing inflation. Vlad the Insaner is causing inflation. This sort of hangover from COVID is causing inflation. The B word is causing inflation. Of course, you're not supposed to say Brexit anymore. I mean, have you found any benefits yet, Smug?
I don't know anything.
He still doesn't know anything. Got an entire person, a ghostly hat stand, whose mission in life is to find one, just one, benefit of Brexit. He hasn't come up with a single thing yet, apart from the possibility of turning the exit signs in the Dartford Tunnel from metres to yards. That's what he's come up with so far. Anything else?
I don't know anything.
No, that's it. God, what a state, eh? I am stunned. I am actually stunned. I mean, what on earth is going on here? I don't recognise this country anymore. It took this bloke 2 years.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
To change this country from somewhere I recognised, fairly normal. We sort of rubbed along quite okay. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but then what country is? But it was an excellent place to live, and I only ever wanted to live here. And he seems to have managed in 2 or 3 short years to just completely upend this entire nation. How did he do it? While maintaining that appearance, which must take a lot of effort. Don't you think? I mean, it's not by accident that he looks like that. It's a lot of effort because he's forever undoing his hair. So we know that he's not unaware of how he looks. It's his act, very carefully put together. I'm sure it takes an enormous amount of money to look that to look that cheap. Is very expensive. Don't think it isn't. John says, "Save all your kisses for me" is what us Scots will be singing when we get our independence and that Tory mob realise what they've lost. The fact that Liz told people to ignore Nicola just proved the point. 3 exclamation marks like he's shouting at me. Peter texts, "Let's ditch the working class and just call them the poor people." Well, this is in reference to what Mick Lynch was saying the other day, and he was, I don't know, it seemed like a bit, and I'm a supporter of most of what Mick Lynch has been saying lately, but it seemed a conversation from another era. I mean, if you are working on the trains, say, and you're a driver, and I know that his union doesn't really represent drivers, but if you are a driver on the trains, then you would be coming under that category of working class people that Mick Lynch was talking about. But if you are a worker on a train and you're earning £50,000 a year, does that really make you working class? Or have you strayed into middle classdom? And what difference does it make anyway? I mean, middle class people are getting screwed over just as much as the working class are. You can be middle class and be a teacher and earn a half of what a manual worker earns. So who is the working class there? It's just a thought. Chrissy texts, how quickly those voted for Tories... how quickly those voted... Who? I'll take another run at it. Chrissy texts, how quickly those who voted Tory forget how Cameron and Osborne took money away from those on benefits. Now the middle class are affected. They want something done. Any thoughts, Dave?
I think this is nonsense.
He thinks it's nonsense. Still not missing you, Dave, by the way, in case you were wondering, but we know where to find you if we do. You'll be in the shed where they keep the tools. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC. with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello.
A record-breaking economic gloom is gripping Britain as households brace for a nightmare of winter soaring costs. Or, as Liz the Brains Trust would say,
We have never had it so good.
consumer confidence has plummeted to its lowest level ever, as in of all time.
Oh, no.
And every time consumer confidence has tanked before, it was the warning bell of bad times ahead, like the financial crash of 2008, or the 3-day week when the lights went out in the mid-1970s. And now it's the country is facing with either the blunderbuss or swishy Sunak as the next leader. And blimey, what have we done? Oh, Struth. What have we done to deserve this? That's premature ebongulation. And so that wasn't enough. A host of industries are in contraction in a sign that the economy is teetering on the brink of recession. Acute concerns over the cost of living for a drop in confidence. Oh, God, I just can't do it. No, it's just too hard. I can't. Don't make me. I've got detailed files, but I just can't be bothered. My brain seems to have, now it's in mush. I'm under an enormous amount of stress. Stop picking on me. Chrissy says, how quickly those who voted, I've read that. Jerry says, Labour Conservatives are both wrong. Labour Conservatives are both wrong. Let's change it up, says Jerry. As in none of the above. Mark says, adding to the previous suggestion, can we run a hosepipe from a non-hosepipe ban area to a hosepipe ban area legally? It sounds like it could fall into Pretty's noisier than silent protest category. Well, that's an excellent idea, Mike. Why can't we run a hosepipe from a non-hosepipe ban area to a hosepipe ban area legally? Why can't we do that? And Linda says, oh dear, I always vote Nick. Politics is broke. Right wing. No, she doesn't vote Nick. I always vote Nick. Missing out the punctuation. Politics is broke, says Linda. Right wing media dictates USA Trump / UK Johnson. Only people with money have a voice, says Linda. And Josie says, I'm worried about your noisy steam-powered computer mouse's middle wheel causing you repetitive strain syndrome. Get a new one for your birthday. It is the world's loudest computer mouse. I've never actually come across a louder one. And it's right here, right underneath the microphone. You can hear me every time I click on one of these people. And in this instance, it's Oldbury. Hello, Ranjit.
Hi, Nick. You're all right, mate.
I am great, mate.
Okay. You know, you asked the question, how have we got here?
Yeah.
Right? You know, the dumbing down of the population has been going on for quite a while.
The masses are asses.
That's it. So people watch programs like Love Island, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And suddenly we start emulating and we think we're them. Yeah. So then you watch programs with people driving big, fast cars and this, that, and the other. And I might just have a Ford Fiesta, but I think mine's a Lamborghini because it's the same colour. Right? That's the kind of syndrome that's been put into people's heads. Okay? And then while they were trying to push Brexit through in 2016 or whenever it was done, they just carried on blaming everybody else, and all the people that seen was the reason I haven't got a job is because the foreigners got it. The reason I haven't got a Rolls Royce is because what's his name? Alan Sugar's got one. I can get one. Right? The Richard Branson's got
that
747.
Alan Sugar. He's bought up all the rollers. That's just that's just spoiled.
No. That's what I'm saying. People have been put into such a false sense of security, right, that they're too pig-headed now to admit that they're wrong, right? And I speak to people, and I asked the same question about 2 weeks ago. I said to some of my friends, tell me something, how you've benefited from the Tory governments over the last 12 years, and tell me how Brexit, and how have you gained?
And what did they say?
And they says, well, we got control of our borders. Well, that's for us.
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't. That's what I mean. And, sometimes just to see how the water lies with these people, they're so thick, right, that they don't understand. I mean, you had somebody going on about him being a fascist, right? The thing is, if you're going to control the masses, you've got to feed them rubbish, and that rubbish has now, their brains have turned to sawdust, and they won't even, for some reason, I don't know why they won't admit it. I said, look, okay, to one of my tours, he loves Boris Johnson, he loves Donald Trump. I said, explain to me how your mum and dad are paying for the gas and the electric. He says, well, there's a world crisis. I said, is there? I said, in France, they went up by 4%. Why is it that ours have gone here by 70, 80%?
Because we have freedom.
We got freedom. So, like you say, the masses are asses, right? Yeah. Now, if you want to change the world, you've got to change that philosophy with them. The asses, you've got to put some, inject some brains into them.
It's pointless.
Right?
It's pointless, Ranjit. They've joined a cult. They've gone. They're lost forever. They're never coming back.
Yeah, when you've been going on about the working class and the middle classes, when Jeremy Hunt turned round and said, right, a junior doctor should work for £22,000 a year, right? He did, yes, when he was health secretary and the junior doctors was going to go on strike. People were asking him, I can work in a supermarket and earn that. Why do I have to go into £300,000 worth of debt? So what they did initially, right, was demonise all the foreigners, then the unemployed, then religious people from different religions. Then they went for the working class. And then look at barristers. They've gone on strike. Solicitors have gone on strike. Doctors are about to go on strike. So they can't. Even Jeremy Hunt said, right, he says, these people, these doctors, you know what, they've been led by their unions.
I think you mean militant lefty unions.
Militant lefty. Does he understand that to be a doctor, you're going to be one of the top 5%, of intelligence?
I'm losing count of the amount of people that are enemies of the people. I mean, if 99.9% of the people of this country are labelled enemies of the people, then maybe it's the people that are labelling them enemies of the people that are the enemies of the people.
One thing that I don't understand, when I was younger.
No, I do not know when you were younger. No, when was that?
About 70% of 30% of the people controlled 70% of the wealth, right? Then that fraction changed to 20% controlled 80% of the wealth. Now, nearly 5% of the people control 95% of the wealth, and the people that's right at the bottom, they think they're in that 5%, and that's where it's all going wrong.
They need educating.
They need education, and if you want to farm people, first thing you do is take the education off and look at the state of the education in this country.
I know.
When they're saying they're going to bring
both sides of the drink.
I love the poorly educated.
Yeah, it's almost as though it's a plan. It's almost as though that on both sides of the drink, the politicians are being paid by the same people. It's almost like some sort of James Bond villain has hollowed out a volcano and is controlling them all from there. Seriously, what is that noise? It's like I'm doing this show in a cab office. There's continuous talking in the background. What is that?
No, I've got my staff working in the back. They're cleaning up just after we shut the shop. Let me shut my office door.
No, it's not you. It's here. It's like another radio station playing in the background, and it's been doing it for about 2.5 hours now. Well, 1.5 hours. Let's get carried away. Don't exaggerate. Not 2.5.
But maybe somebody's going to take over you as well and implant something in your brain, right, to start speaking like the other people do.
I can't wait till that happens. Then maybe I'll have to use less of my own brain power and hook into somebody else's. God, wouldn't that be marvellous?
No, that's what... Okay.
Okay, I think that's it.
It's hilarious. I think it's hilarious.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Roger. I've got no idea. Whatever it is, I've got no idea. Don't ask me. What do I know? Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Clive, can you hear that? God, that's annoying. It's like somebody's left the phone off the hook and they're having an animated discussion with somebody they're breaking up with. Listen to that. Clive emails, as someone who worked in the water industry, what I think it needs is a system like Ofsted have, a team of engineers to go into these companies unannounced. If their performance does not improve, take the running of the company over. Well, here's a better idea. Let's get into a time machine and go back and slap whoever thought of selling our blooming water upside the head. You know, not literally, just metaphorically. We'll metaphorically slap them upside the head. Whichever moron thought it was a good idea to sell our water off. I mean, really, what kind of a country does that? 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC. It's 11:30.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbot.
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. Rona emails, happy birthday for Monday. Thanks, Rona. My 62nd is on Thursday, says Rona. No one cares. I care. Happy birthday, Rona. Why do I feel like I'm only in my 30s, asks Rona, right up until I look in the mirror. And yes, the 70s were definitely the best years for music. They gave us Bowie and Chicory Tip. Chicory Tip. What's not to like, says Rona. Well, Chicory Tip is what's not to like. What else has gone back to the 70s is how we feel about ourselves. This is the story I sort of got halfway through and then I just couldn't take it anymore. A record-breaking economic gloom is gripping Britain as households brace for a nightmare winter of soaring costs. GfK, the data company, blamed acute concerns over the cost of living for a drop in its confidence index to minus 44, the lowest it's been since it would launch that index in 1974. Wow. 1974. The outlook darkened on every one of the data company GfK's measures, with Britons feeling increasingly pessimistic about their own finances and the general economy.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
People are depressed. Any idea why that is, Bodge? After 12 years of glorious Tory rule? He can't think. Commenting on the figures, Chris Hare, an economist at HSBC, said, for now, the UK's cost of living outlook keeps getting worse. Mortgage holders are facing cost increases as the Bank of England rapidly raises interest rates to slow demand. Yeah, again, maybe an economist is listening to this right now and can explain it to me. It don't make no sense to me. How is raising interest rates going to dampen demand? Because we haven't got an excess of money in the economy. No one's got nothing. How is it going to stop people spending on fripperies, on stuff that they don't need, competing with each other to buy like Lamborghinis and packs of butter? The problem isn't too much money in the economy. It's too little. It seems idiotic to me that that's what they're doing, raising interest rates. What are they doing that for? I mean, people can't afford to eat. And never mind about heat. Just wait till the winter comes around. So how is making money more expensive going to help?
Về đâu anh chẳng thu đêm sầu, lòng ta nhung nhớ bao đoạn trường. Từng đêm ta lạnh trong gió sương, nhìn sao ta đêm thương chẳng ngàn.